Praise be to your holy name. As I come to you, I beseech you in your holiness and in your righteousness to pour thy Spirit down and let it go out to those that you are trying to reach and teach, to the leaders, to the ones that are supposed to be setting the example, to the ones that are supposed to be saying, follow Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, doing his work and his will. Though the road may be tough, and though it may be rocky, we are to walk it. Not seeking the easy way, but walking the hard way. Becoming holy and righteous and spiritual before him. Before him who paid the price and paid it willingly with love. Who paid the price that we can become one with him. And become fellow workers and servants. Walking in his likeness and his will. That one day we can sit upon that throne that has been prepared for us. That we can judge in righteousness and in love and compassion. Understanding the people that will be praying. I ask you right now to let your words unfold and move the leaders of the body of Yahshua in the proper stance before the people. In the name of Yahshua HaMashiach. I'm coming today and more like, let us talk again. I know my other video about America and what she's doing with Israel. But where is the leaders of the body of Yahshua? Where are they at? And in the midst of all of this that's going on. And how are you leading your people? How are you speaking to them? You know, if we go around and we say, oh Lord, don't let me go through this testing, you miss out. It is through the testing times that we find who Yahshua truly is. Yes, I hate the testing times that I had to go through. Many times I got on my knees and I cried and go, when will this be over? But during those times, I grew. I learned compassion. I learned forgiveness. I learned how to seek him in a way that I would have never sought him before. And that's what he wants us to reach out to him and become totally 100% dependent on him. But we become lazy and relaxed in the comfort of our little world that we have created around us. And by coming relaxed and comfortable, we become lukewarm. Trials and testings will come. Let's go back to Job. Job, everybody tries to find some kind of sin that Job did to cause what happened to him. But it wasn't sin that brought this on. And let me go to Job real quick about what was going on with Job and why things happened. In the very first chapter it says, there was a man in the land of US, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God. And each word evil, in other words, hated evil. Okay, it says right at the beginning, he was perfect and he was upright. Well, you can't be perfect and upright and still be living in sin. The two don't work together. But on down in the 6th verse in the first chapter, we read, now there was a day when the sons of God come to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth, from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, now the Lord is saying this. He brings the attention. Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and abhors evil. Now this is coming out of God's mouth. Yahweh himself is saying, this man is perfect. He's upright. And one that feareth God, feareth me. In other words, God was saying, he fears me. And he says this to Satan, almost like, look at him. Look at him. Among all the people here on earth, he's a perfect one. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? He's saying, twisting those words. He loves to twist words just like he did with Eve, But I think he forgets who he's talking about, too. Has not thou made a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thy hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. In other words, Satan was challenging God. Challenging God to prove what he was saying about Job was true. So what does the Lord say? I don't even think he thought about it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. He gave it to Satan. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. Now we know, going on down reading, what happened. His children was killed. His livestock was taken. He was left with nothing. No riches, no children, nothing. The biggest test that you ever could imagine to happen to a human being, he lost everything that he had on this earth. He lost it all. So let's go on down. And again, you know. First, let's go back to see what Job did. And Job rose and rent his mantle, shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. Did he curse God? No. He worshipped. In the midst of the greatest trial, testing that he ever had in his whole life, he rent his mantle, shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped, and said, Naked come I out of my mother's womb, naked shall I return thither. The Lord giveth, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. He didn't get up and go, my God, why are you doing this to me? Why is this happening to me? You know, I'm your servant. I've been there all these years. I've always praised you. I've sacrificed. I've done what you told me to do. I prayed for my children. I prayed and I've worshipped you. And why are you doing this? No, you didn't hear that come out of Job's mouth. He rent his clothes. He shaved his head. And he fell on his face on the ground and worshipped in the midst of the mightiest test this man of God ever had in his life at that time. So now let's go to chapter 2, beginning at that first verse. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan come among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, From whence thou comest? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro on the earth, from walking up and down in it. You know, the same old thing. Still doing it today. Still walking to and fro, doing his thing here on earth, and then he goes up with the children of God and presents himself before God. And he's the accuser of the brethren. He accuses you. He accuses me every day. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and abhors evil, and still he has fastest, and still he holds fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. He never lost his integrity, not one time. Even though Satan moved God to destroy him without cause, Job held faithful to God. And Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thy hand now, touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thy hands, but save his life. Once again, God said to Satan, you're saying that Job, a faithful, perfect man that did not throw away his trust in me and his integrity and curse my face and die. He didn't. So we see Job going back down into, we see Satan going back down and touching Job. And he went and this is what Satan did. So went Satan from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the soles of his feet into the crown, which means crown of his head. And he took him a potshell to scrub a broken potshell to scrub himself with, and he sat down among the ashes. And listen to this, Job's wife. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thy integrity? Curse God and die. Whoa. You're still worshiping him and holding fast to your integrity. Just curse God and die. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women, speaking, what, shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil too at this? Did not Job sin with his lips? We sometimes are coming under testing, and then we begin to cry. Oh Lord, why me? Why is this happening to me? And then when people come up against us, sometimes we'll scream hateful, bitter things. And they will proceed from our mouth. But Job was a man of integrity. Though he lost everything he had, though he was filled with sore boils from the top of his head to the soles of his feet, he still kept his integrity intact. I'm telling you, the leaders of today, you become soft. You've come to the point that you want everything easy. And when God does let something happen as a testing point into our lives, you begin to scream and run and fight, bitterly fight each other. Who called you? Who was the one that brought you out of your sin? Yahshua did. And though we go through mighty testings, though we see things around us happening to our families, to our friends, to us physically, we become upset and we become hateful and we become embittered and we become angry and we will preach it from the pulpits. God, forgive us. We are to lead people through their trials and their tribulation, their testing. We are set a standard of love and of compassion that will set a standard that people will realize that when they're being tested, if they fall on their face, if they rent their mantles and fall on their face and praise and worship Him in the most terrible times of their life, He will deliver them. He is the deliverer. Not us. He is. I didn't like it when I was going through the testings, but now I praise Him. And even when I was walking through the hardest times of my life, I would take my hands and go, Father, I'm not going to ask why, but I'm going to ask for the strength to stand for your glory and your righteousness and your purpose. That's what we are to do as the leaders of the people. We are not to curse or condemn people, but we are to reach out our loving hands and say, come forth, because He will deliver you. Testing is a time of strengthening our integrity to Him. It is time that we are being developed. It is a time that we are growing in the character and the likeness of Him. Without testing, we don't deserve anything. If it's an easy road, there's something wrong. We have to learn with integrity who the Father is and who the Son is. Reaching out our hand and saying, your will be done, not ours. Asking for blessings on those around us. Asking for blessings upon us, holding forth that integrity that He has. Put aside the foolishness of this world. Put aside the things of this world and pray for the people of this world. Pray for America. Pray for Israel. Pray and intercede. Search and seek. Read the Bible. When Saul lost the kingdom, and Samuel was told to go forth with the horn of oil and anoint David as king. It didn't immediately happen. David had to wait years before he got to be king. Although he was anointed king, he had to wait for years to be king. Why? Because he was tested. Because God knew that if He put David in like He did Saul, because Saul wasn't prepared, was not tested was not, he was just chosen and put as a king, and he failed, and he disobeyed God. But God put David through a testing that when he become king, he would be king in the likeness of Yahweh. Yahweh even said, he is my friend. That is a lot to say when God says, you are my friend. Because you've been tested. You've been proven. And now you are put in a place of authority. You will never, never be put in a place of authority in the kingdom of heaven until you pass the test down here on earth. Keeping your integrity and that loyalty and that precious love of Yahshua flowing from your very innermost parts. I am calling for the leaders of the churches of the body of Yahshua to come together and pray earnestly, seeking his face, seeking his will, stripping that mantle, getting in the sackcloth and ashes and saying, thy will be done. I worship you no matter what is going on around me. Though the world falls apart and melts away, I worship only you. Because America is going into captivity, and Israel is one time again, because they refuse to hear the words of the Lord. And the pastors and the ministers are too afraid to speak up and say anything. They want to sit back, keep their mouths shut, and not rock the boat. But sometimes we have to rock the boat. And the beginning is in prayer. So I am calling for the 19th to be a time of prayer and intercession for everyone, the world, America, for Israel, for everyone, for our own soul's sake, for our family's sake, for our country's sake. The 19th, when that sun arises, fast until it goes down. Pray and intercede like you never interceded before for this country, for the world, because major crisis is coming. This world is going to suffer a shaking that it's never suffered before in the time it has been created. Pray in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach.